These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
We get two turnovers and the start of this, or we end up kicking 2 field goals at the start of the second half, which, we got the ball down in there. We probably could have put them away. But anyway, we fought like crazy, like we always do. The crowd was outstanding tonight. I know Pittsburgh travels really well with their fans. But we kept the TV ratings up too, so that's good. Every week now we do it.
Come on, Judd. Come on, Judd. Skull.
He's so close. He's so close to blowing a gasket. Just let it go, Mike. For the love of God, dude, let it go. He's so close.
Dex, can we just play the first 5 seconds of that clip? Okay, so hold on. This is, and you'll hear it come across if you're just listening to the podcast. If you're watching on the Score North YouTube channel, like, watch his body language. This is a game that they had to have if they want to make the playoffs, right? It's a game that they were leading by like 4 touchdowns, and they won the game. And this is Mike Zimmer's body language.
We get we get 2 turnovers, and
he's got his hand on his temple. Oh my God.
If he could have gone old Zim, job security's high, right? Like his defense is good, so he's got a leg to stand on. He wanted to say so badly, these MFers can't put a team away, and that's got nothing to do with me. This stupid group. I mean, he's so close to blowing. He kind of. I mean, he said that more tactfully later on. We played the clip on. If I remember, I think we played the clip on Ventline last night where he's like, "I keep trying to tell them, this and this and this. I keep trying to tell them how to put teams away." He's like distancing himself from his own team. Who do you think told him? Because it's clear that at some point, either at the start of the year or at some point shortly after it started, somebody said every time you get like really mad, like to the edge of telling the media what you really think, say my team keeps trying really hard. Because you'll notice every week he's like goes to the cliff of this stupid group, and then he'll say, "But my guys try as hard as they always do."
Yeah, he always ends with sort of a positive. Yeah,
but it's like the fallback default. Just say this, you'll feel better.
Yep. Yeah. Well, let's jump into it here, boys. We do usually it's Monday statements, and because the Vikings played last night, we're going to hit you with some statements here on what will become a Feedback Friday as well. Randy in Cottage Grove, we're hoping we can track down before the show is over. But Judd, why don't you start us off here? Statement number 1.
I'm absolutely disgusted. I'm absolutely disgusted by a win that feels like a loss. I'm absolutely disgusted by the fact that you were up by 23 points at halftime and 29-0, 29 rip in the third quarter against a team in the Steelers that clearly wanted you to dagger them completely. Like, score 40, score 42. Make this easy for us. We want to go away. And for one night, the Vikings had a chance to right the wrongs. Like, the Vikings had a chance to pile on the points. Offensively, the first half was impressive. The quarterback didn't even play that good of game, but Dalvin was great. Jefferson was cooking at times. Like, that game was the game where Pittsburgh's like, "Hey, Kirk, Dalvin, Justin, put 56 up. Come on, just do it. We will go away." I mean, you guys, during the course of the game, the press box injury report on Pittsburgh players started to roll in like a Pro Bowl list of who's who. TJ Watt is unlikely to return. Lynn Swann ain't coming back. John Stallworth has declared himself like, you literally had guys.
Jerome Bettis. Yeah.
You literally had guys running to the team training staff to say, I got some problems here. Don't even examine me. I'm going to limp to the locker room. Pittsburgh wanted you to just end it. And yet you couldn't do it. You wouldn't. That win, and then to see Xavier Woods at the end of the game when Harrison Smith made a nice play to break up that last potential touchdown. But damn it, that was a potential touchdown. That was as close as you could possibly get. And a 2-point conversion ties that game after you're up by 29. And Xavier Woods takes his helmet and throws it off and is celebrating like there's something to be proud of. Go to the locker room, shut up, sit down, and understand that this whole season's been a colossal bust. I'm disgusted by that game.
I can't remember a game in which, toward the end of the third quarter, I was mildly outraged that Dalvin Cook and some other starters were still in the game. I'm like, why? It was, it's like 29-0 late in the third quarter. Like, why is Dalvin Cook dislocated his shoulder 11 days ago? The job is done. He's got 190 yards rushing. And then, 15 minutes later, they're fighting for their lives, inside the red zone. All right, my first statement, it's kind of a two-parter because it was going to be a one-parter, but now that Judd just said what he said, it's going to be a two-parter. How can I phrase this? Judd is wildly overreacting in how disgusted he is with last night's game. However, the game was a perfect encapsulation of the Mike Zimmer, Kirk Cousins era. So while I think Judd is taking this like way further than I am with his disgust, I agree with the sentiment that last night was a perfect encapsulation of the Mike Zimmer, Kirk Cousins era. First of all, you're talented enough to get out to a 29-point lead offensively, right? You put together a good game plan, but then you're screwed up enough and you're mentally weak enough to give almost all of it back, just like you're talented enough to pretty much beat anyone, to hang with the best teams in the NFL, the Cardinals, the Packers, right? And then you're flawed enough to lose to a team like the Lions. It's like, I think both those guys also just lack, there's some chip missing with both Zimmer and Cousins, and they're very different people, and I think the chip is probably different, but I think they both lack the leadership qualities of some of the best quarterbacks and coaches. Kirk is an I just work here guy, and Mike Zimmer is, hey, defense is my thing, you guys figure out everything else guy. He's not the real coach that takes ownership of a 53-man roster. Just like Kirk, when you think about whose team is this? Whose team is it? Well, the Buccaneers, that's Tom Brady's team. The Green Bay Packers, that's Aaron Rodgers' team. The Seattle Seahawks, even when they're struggling this season, I get it, but that's Russell Wilson's team. And then the coach, the good relationship with most of these coaches and quarterbacks. Here it's like, Kirk doesn't even want that. And I think it's pretty obvious, there was a play. Well, I'll get to another example later in statements because I don't want to just hog this whole thing, but it just feels like nobody wants to take ownership in the key moments. Whose team is this? Mike, are you the one that's leading this thing? Kirk, are you the one that's leading this thing? And they just kind of look around, and all of a sudden, a 29-point lead's down to, 8.
This team's despicable. It's a despicable collection. End the season. Just get it done.
Okay, Joe Buck.
This is a despicable team. It's a despicable collection of players. Declan.
All right, Dex.
All right, my opening statement, I'm actually going to borrow a lyric from Kendrick Lamar. Judd, are you familiar with Kendrick Lamar, the rapper?
I know the name. I'm not going to know the potential lyric.
We should get Judd to start reading rap lyrics again like we used to do on the old Mackey and Judd. Yeah. That might be a staple for 2022. But Kendrick has a song called Poetic Justice. It's an old song. It's like 10 years old. It's from Good Kid, Mad City. It's one of his more known songs. And there's a line in that song that says, "If I told you that a flower bloomed in a dark room, would you trust it?" Poetic justice. That's the Vikings. I don't trust that flower to bloom in a dark room because this damn team is absurd. They have all the ingredients, all the beautiful ingredients to be a Super Bowl contending team, right? They have a high-flying wide receiver. They have a good quarterback. They have a defensive-minded coach. There's all these pieces in place for it to be a very good team. And last night, you come out with a flawless game plan in the first half. You went up 29-0. 29-0. And yet, in the second half, you did the same thing that the Saints did to you in the Minneapolis Miracle, the same thing they did to you in the Wild Card Weekend. You needed basically a miracle last-second play to clinch the game. All different, albeit, obviously, because the Vikings were on defense this time, having to get a stop in the goal line to secure the win, where the two wins against the Saints were obviously daggers for touchdowns. But seriously, this team managed to go up 29-0. And we were about to be the new Falcons from the Super Bowl, right? 28-3 is the new Falcons thing. They were up 29-0, and they almost blew a 29-0 lead. Super Bowl in Week 14, I get it. A little different circumstances in terms of the heightened factor, but this is poetic justice. That was the Vikings in a nutshell. They have all these great things and all these gorgeous things that should make them a good team, but they can't. They can't get you all in because they absolutely bleep themselves.
Yeah. No, it's... Yeah. All right, Judd, back to you.
So as a group, I can't stand this team, but I will give credit where credit is due. Dalvin Cook is a warrior. Okay. I still have real questions about a guy 11 days after dislocating his shoulder playing. So I'm not saying that I think that was a great idea, but when you come out and rush for 205 yards and average 7.5 yards per carry, 11 days after suffering an injury that keeps most guys out probably a month, you're a warrior. You might not be the smartest one, but you are. I mean, that is an incredible feat. And Pittsburgh was terrible, and their tackling was brutal. And so I get all of that. But nonetheless, coming 11 days after your shoulder was as damaged as Cook's was, that is still a very impressive feat. He deserves credit for that.
I was cringing every time he was tackled or bumped or hit, and I don't know. Maybe he got a little cortisone or something. Maybe he couldn't feel anything throughout that entire region.
I was thinking the same thing. That poor guy had so much stuff going through his veins, probably. But still, I mean,
that was an amazing performance, and I think his logic was probably, well, if I don't play, and maybe they win the game if he doesn't play. I don't know, because the Steelers, he had 110 yards before contact, so. Credit to him, but also, like, what were the Steelers doing throughout the first 3 quarters of that game?
Yep, you're right.
All right, my second statement. This team has zero fire to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that's my next one.
late in the fourth, and you can maybe piggyback off this, Dex, because late in the fourth quarter, the clock was running down. Something puzzling happened to me. It just, and there's been something about this team for most of the Mike Zimmer, Kirk Cousins era, where it's like, it just feels like it's not all cohesive. It's not a full-on partnership between the coach and the quarterback, and it just feels like a grind. Cousins is gritting his teeth all the time, and Jefferson's throwing his hand. But there was a moment late in the fourth quarter, the clock's running down, and the Vikings are looking to clinch the game at this point. So they're driving with the football. It's like 3rd and 5. And if you guys remember, Cousins gets pressured. He flushes from the pocket and says, "Screw it, I'm running." And it was, as it turned out, the Steelers did get the ball back. I think the Vikings might have thrown another pick. The Steelers did get another chance. But in the moment, it was like, if they get a first down here, they're probably going to win the game. And so he runs. He gains like 6 or 7 yards. He head first dives for the first down. And I'm looking at this thinking, wow, that run just clinched this huge game for them, right? They almost gave it all back, but it was one of those like, all right, the Steelers are about to come back, but I'm going to stop this in its tracks with a first down run, and I'm going to ice the game, and I'm going to get us one step back to 500, back in the playoff race. And I was expecting you like that fist pump or a first down or an offensive lineman to come over and grab him by the shoulder pads and slap him on the helmet. What would Tom Brady and his teammates have done in that moment? Or Josh Allen, right? Get up, Baker Mayfield, first down, thump your chest, and all of the emotion comes out. All 11 guys just walk back to the huddle.
Right.
11 zombies walking back to the huddle in that moment. Kirk, zombie, offensive lineman, zombie. You guys aren't celebrating that huge play? It's not like a Chase Claypool situation where you're trying to, get back to the line of scrimmage. It's like, you got 40 seconds to celebrate for a minute. That was a huge play. Yes, we push back at the Steelers' run, and they just walk back to the huddle. And I'm sure some people are like, dude, you're probably looking into it too much. I don't think so, man. Like, this team, it looks like 11 zombies on offense more often than not.
Why is this team despicable? Because they lack any and all intangibles. This is a thing I've talked about for a long time, and I feel like as the younger and a very smart, so I'm not putting them down, generation of sports fans have embraced different ways to look at sports, and there are a lot of ways to quantify, like, this team can do this, and like statistically you can basically get it down to the oomph of, okay, I get that. But the one thing that I think the younger generation of sports fans dismisses is intangibles. Exactly that, Phil. I mean, we have talked about that regarding different sports, the Wild, for how long? Which is, it is crystal clear that your locker room chemistry, to put it bluntly, sucks. And that's important. Like sports is supposed to be fun. Sports is all. Think about this: the 2017 Vikings, right? A really good defense, a guy starting at quarterback who was supposed to be your backup. Why did it work? In part because of the intangibles were so good. Like Case Keenum helped rally that team. For all of the fans now who say, well, look at Kirk, he's so much better than Teddy. And he is a better quarterback. That's not the point. What did the Vikings accurately assess about Teddy that was so important? The intangibles. He could get people together. That's incredibly important, and it can't be quantified on a spreadsheet. So what you're saying is 1,000% right, and it's why I continue to call this team despicable. It's not because the players all suck. They don't. But as a group, they are as unlikable of group. Like, I'm not saying Harrison Smith's an a-hole. I don't even know him. But as a group, I can tell you right now, this is an unlikable team. Why? Because they don't even like each other. So that's what you're saying, and that's where you're going to get pushback from, well, how do you know that, Phil?
That's laughable, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it is, man. And
I'm with you.
When I bring up Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins is a more talented, better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know why I'm using Baker Mayfield as like a positive example, because I think he's going to be a backup long term, and I actually think he's a bad leader because he never takes accountability. He always blames circumstances or the refs or something else. But so maybe he's a bad example. But just think about the top 12, 15 quarterbacks: Derek Carr, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Like, you get a big play like that, and not just the quarterback, but the team around the quarterback too.
Right.
You convert a big third down like that with your legs. You dive headfirst into 3 linebackers and a safety, right?
Yes.
And it's first down, and we keep it moving, and we just held off this big push that the Steelers are trying to save their season. It was this huge moment. And all 11 of those guys just walk back to the huddle. Like, okay. It's just, all right, we just work here. What's the next play?
And your linemen don't go pick the quarterback up and like start you pounding on his head.
Yeah, where's Brian O'Neill? Where's Garrett Bradbury? Yeah. Where's Mason Cole?
Our guy did that.
It was weird. It was weird.
Yeah, I mean, my statement kind of piggybacks off that, and more specifically, it was show some fire Kirk Cousins, because I don't know why, but it feels like Kirk, last 4 games, looks like someone who stole his mystery meat, right? Like, or they stole his life rocks out of his house. Like, I don't know, but
those are years off your life when people steal the life rocks.
And he's confused. He doesn't know what to do, right? Yeah, can't take that stone out every day. I don't see a quarterback who looks energized. I don't see a quarterback who looks angry. I see a quarterback who looks checked out, man. And I'm a critical guy of Kirk. All of us are pretty critical of Kirk.
We're Kirk haters.
Kirk haters. KC8, as I like to dub him now, right? Like, he first 8-9 games, he was playing pissed off. He was playing the best football of his career, and we praised him, and rightfully so. He looked really damn good in the first 8 games of the season after getting off to notorious slow starts in his previous seasons with the Vikings. But lately, and it's since the San Fran game, and I know Judd's pointed to that pick that has kind of spiraled him out of control. I don't know if it was necessarily that interception, but I think Judd brings up a good point that ever since then, he just looks different. And I don't know if he's checked out, but he looks to me like the body language, to me, it looks like he knows it's over. Like, he knows that it's not going to be it with this group. And I don't know if the head coach, you can plug in the right offensive guy if it gets things going, but to me, his body language, the way he carries himself, it just seems like he's not all in anymore, and I don't know why.
Well, I think I'll actually defend him a little bit here, because I think he knows that the Zimmer thing, it's been oil and water for 4 years, and they made an effort finally in year 4. They started meeting on Thursdays. They've been going over. It sounds like they've been going over like third down situations and red zones and things, like the key moments of the game. But it's just not a great relationship. Mike doesn't have a lot of interest in spending a lot of time with Kirk. He's a defensive guy, and their personalities are different. And I think rather than Kirk, because Kirk's not really an alpha personality, so instead of Kirk finding a way to sort of manage up and build the relationship, I think he just kind of goes into a shell a little bit. And again, I would be curious whether it's with the Vikings or somebody else to see Kirk with like the perfect head coach for him. Is there another level to his game in certain instances? But It looks like a guy that doesn't really like his boss.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what it looks like. You're like,
The entire team.
I'll still play and
doesn't.
whatever.
The entire team looks like that. Like the entire team. Yeah. Going to play a football game should not be akin to a trip to the dentist's office, and yet the Vikings make it feel like they are in a dentist chair every week.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch at times. Like it's a struggle. My statement, Mike Zimmer was right. And now you're saying, hold on a second, Judd, you've been bashing the Zim. You want the Zim fired, and now you're saying he was right. What are you talking about? And I'm going to tell you what I'm talking about. Go back to training camp. Mike never meant it, but do you remember when he threatened to potentially, and because I think as Phil talked about earlier this week, he turned the defensive play calling over to his son for a preseason game and said, I might turn the defensive play calling over to my son, Adam, full time. And we're all like, you're not going to. And then, of course, he's like, I'm not going to. He should have. Mike Zimmer, the game to a certain extent, while some of his principles remain still important and absolutely fine, the game that he called so well for so long from on the defensive side of the football has passed him by, and he can't accept it. He doesn't know it, and he doesn't even have the ability now to tweak it. And so instead of his idea, I think when he just dropped the ego for a second, the idea was to, hey, fresh set of eyes, calling the plays, a person who would embrace what I want to do schematically, but might see it a little bit differently, which might be a good thing. I think when you watch this team, yes, there are some issues of personnel, but the personnel is not as bad as the defense is. The play calling has become a problem, and I firmly believe that the one thing that Mike used to be great at, he is not now. And the idea of having somebody else augment his system was actually a good one. He was right. He should have, for 2021, given up defensive play calling.
Would his son have been the right guy to augment his defense, though?
No, but I do think that somebody else calling the plays, like he was on the right track. I don't like the secondary, especially like Breland or Boyd, who shouldn't be on the roster. Dantzler has been a struggle, although I think that's coaching as well. But Phil, Kendricks played last night. Barr played last night. The defensive line, yes, has suffered losses, but you have enough of a core group that if you are the defensive savant that Mike was, the 2016 Mike would have gotten around that.
So I think the biggest question is, because before Danielle Hunter went down, which was what? Was it week 5? Somewhere like week 6?
It was the Dallas game. Whatever the Dallas Sunday night game was.
Week 6, 7. It was Halloween. So yeah, like week 6 or 7. The Vikings were the number 1 pressure defense in the NFL and the number 1 sack defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
They've now fallen outside the top 10. So losing what I think is a Hall of Fame caliber pass rusher has definitely thrown a huge wrench into what Mike Zimmer's defense can be, because he likes to get pressure with 4 as often as possible.
Yep.
And then if they need to send extra, like on a 3rd and 8 or something, they might send some sort of blitz. But it's just really hard for them without Danielle Hunter to get pressure with front 4. And now that Michael Pierce and Tomlinson have been back in spurts the last few weeks, it's those, not that those guys are like pressure monsters, but I think those guys are able to take up space and free some guys up. My point is, the loss of Danielle Hunter has been a huge problem for this defense. Mm-hmm. And the question becomes, to what extent should Mike Zimmer be criticized for not being able to coach around the loss of Danielle Hunter?
Enormous. It's a huge, I mean, this guy missed all of last year. If you sat down in June and didn't say, what happens if 99 gets hurt? That's your fault. That's not like he missed an entire year with a neck problem that you didn't know was going to respond. So I think it's an enormous problem. And the other thing which really is a problem to me, the cornerbacks. Mike was once known as the cornerback whisperer. I mean, he did a great job with Rhodes. He did a really decent job. As much criticism as this guy took, I thought, with Trey Waynes. Cam Dantzler, he's done nothing but completely stifle him. I mean, again, you played a game last night where your opponent in the third quarter said, please put us out of our misery. We beg you, score 56, let us go away. And the Vikings are like, oh, no. We're going to bring you back. I mean, how does Ben Roethlisberger go from looking like he's playing senior football at an assisted living place to looking like that in the fourth quarter?
He's just in a wheelchair, just dropping back to pass.
I mean, but how does that happen?
He's going for a first down. He's going to scramble.
Yeah.
He's out of his walker.
He would have been better with a
God.
walker scrambling for than he looked at trying to run, and he still got the damn first down on that one play.
All right, my final statement for now is don't look now, but the Vikings may have found some chemistry in the middle of their offensive line. The two highest graded players on offense last night were Garrett Bradbury and Mason Cole. Mason Cole was number 1, I believe, and Garrett Bradbury was 2. Now, in pass protection, Garrett Bradbury had one of the best games of his career. He allowed 0 pressures and had an 84 out of 100 PFF grade last night. So, small sample size because it's been, 2 games that these guys have been together as the Vikings reshuffle things. Sometimes, and Alex Boone does a great job on Tuesdays breaking down offensive line play and talking about this. He talks so much about trust and do you know what the guy next to you is going to be doing? And I don't know, maybe Garrett Bradbury and Mason Cole are like the bosom buddies who just, they both just know where the other one's right foot is going to be and they just feel comfortable next to each other. That's something to watch here. Is it possible that Bradbury trusts Mason Cole and vice versa, and they are a strong link? 2 games, and they've played very well. Judd's just shaking his head the whole time I'm talking.
If Rich Spielman comes into me today and I'm the Wilfs and says exactly that, I say you're fired right now. Pack your stuff.
You're fired.
You're not getting a new title. You're getting nothing.
Fired.
You're fired.
Kiss my ass.
Do not believe. No. Do not believe Garrett Bradbury. It's over here. Please make it be over.
All right, we should.
Yeah, I'm frozen.
Declan froze here,
Yeah,
so
I'm
we should unfreeze Declan
always
and get
freezes
to
well,
Randy
though.
and Cottage Grove.
He always
It does.
freezes well.
It is. It's in a. I'm lost for words. I'm just thinking about.
Like you don't freeze with your eyes blinking or your mouth agape.
No.
Like that's like a photo right there.
Yeah.
People, real quick here. I'll just sneak a feedback Friday in here. So, I'm in the Score North studios where you guys are every day. I'm in town this week, and one of the days I was on a microphone that we probably haven't dusted off in this studio in years, quite frankly. And the audio for listeners was only coming through one ear. It was coming through the left ear. And so we've had a bunch of audio nerd listeners who, hey, here's how you can fix this. And sometimes people wonder, like, why do your cameras get pixelated? We are doing these shows. We have a YouTube car that we are trying to drive in a 1988 AM radio studio.
Yeah.
So that's
I got the
sometimes
H-track.
it's like, why is that wonky? Well,
Right.
Rewind
We're
that
working on
tape,
it.
damn it. Flip that tape over.
We have loaded 8-track sound quality onto an iPod. Like that is onto an iPhone, not even
quite
an iPod.
frankly, what we're doing is really, I think
Remarkable.
heroic and remarkable
Yeah.
in the content space here. Okay, we're driving like a 1991 Plymouth Acclaim, and we're driving it with NASCAR cars. Okay,
Play Springfield.
back off.
Play Ricky Moore. Jesse's girl. Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can track down our guy Randy in Cottage Grove, little stud stable up.